So the next thread we wanted to pull on that again came up in a perplexity conversation is just this hunger for data, right? So I think one of the things we were saying with this robots thing is that it's coming under unique pressure because there are so many companies trying to build AI, and the pressure for data, like data is the oil here, right? Like to be leading in AI, you need to get your hands on as much data as possible. And so there's another really interesting bit of news. I think a pretty clever move from Google, which is for their sort of enterprise AI business in Google Cloud. They've started licensing a bunch of AI data for what's called grounding, right? Which is something that Perplexity does, by the way, right? So we've talked in the past about LLMs and their tendency to hallucinate, to sort of make up facts. And then you have this concept of grounding, which is where you actually sort of reference it back to real world data to make sure there are no hallucinations. And so Google has signed deals with a bunch of boring but important data providers. So it looks like initial partners are Moody's, the rating agency, business info provider, Thomson Reuters, and Zoom Info. And so basically what they're doing is they're getting their hands on this really good quality enterprise data. And, enterprise data broking is an old game. And if Google has access to this stuff, that means that their AI is going to provide results that are actually more usable in an enterprise setting. It feels like we're now really entering that phase of AI where it's moving away from the foundational technology and more into the data arms race.
I think, first of all, this is a rebranding of something that they had for a long while. And Amazon also has this service. So now, because everything is AI, they're now wrapping this like data set that they used to sell in any case to enterprises as a AI grounding thing. So that's good. I think that data is great, but the really pricey data, the really important data is not going to be there. The really important data for AI is going to be like enterprise data that the company itself will have. So I think it's good to have grounding and basing, but it's going to be table stakes. This is going to become vanilla for all AIs. I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg in terms of like what type of data can we access and what type of private data can we access. Like, we're not looking into emails right now in meaningful way. We're not looking into phone calls in meaningful way. There's so much more data for AI to consume. And I think that all of that is not being addressed by this solution.
Okay, logical that email would be the next big trove of data. Nest cams, your phone records on your iPhone, all these things. Does it plateau, or does it become universally available, so any of these LLMs are going to eventually have effectively similar training data? And then after you get to AGI, it doesn't need data anymore. It just kind of learns by itself? Or like, how does that go?
I think that is exactly the case. The case is like the moment we have true intelligence, you don't need that type of training data anymore. There was a talk by one of the AI experts at Facebook, I think, and he said that a kid that is 3 years old has more data, input, sensors, listening, hearing, smelling, than the best AI that we have right now in 3 years. So in the first 3 years, you get more sensory data, more megabytes of training data than any AI. So once we have all these sensors connected, TV, CCTVs around the world, I think we might see a change where AI has enough data to have actual intelligence. And then humans don't need all that data. In a single day, you don't get all that new data, but you're able to deal with new, interesting, complex problems. So maybe that's the change that we'll see. We'll see like a commoditization of very, very baseline data that will turn any machine learning to AI, or we won't. So there's still a question if that will happen. There's a lot of people now on the web saying all this AI is crap and we'll never see actual general intelligence. I'm more on the yes, we'll see general intelligence camp, but that's my complex answer to your simple question.
Actually, as a quick sidebar here, a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a bit of a news cycle about an AI test corpus called ARC, Abstraction and Reasoning Corpus, by a guy called Francois Chollet. And basically, the idea of this corpus is that it is a test for AGI that really separates the sort of the concept of intelligence from the concept of just knowing a lot, of having learned a lot, right? So a lot of the existing benchmarks have already kind of topped out, where you've got all the leading foundation models kind of doing extremely well on them. And yet we talk to LLMs and we're like, well, actually, they don't seem to still be as intelligent as humans in a lot of ways. And so This corpus is one that has two characteristics. One, it seems to be very hard for the current generation of AI tools and LLMs, but it's quite easy for humans. So a lot of these are problems that a 5-year-old could solve or a 10-year-old could solve, but ChatGPT cannot solve. And the existing benchmarks don't have that characteristic. And so this guy, Francois Chollet, like he wrote a pretty influential paper kind of trying to, he's an AI researcher, obviously, defining the concept of intelligence. The intelligence of a system is a measure of its skill acquisition efficiency over a scope of tasks with respect to priors experience and generalization difficulty. And so I think basically what this is saying is that it's about the ability to generalize from what you've learned and apply it to a novel, changing situation. That's what human intelligence is. And I think that's a pretty reasonable definition. And so I guess the point is that this hunger for data is because at the moment, AI is kind of constrained by what it's learned, by what it's seen, and is not that good at reasoning beyond that. And by the way, the same guy, Francois Chollet, is actually a bit bearish on LLMs. He's bullish on AI and AGI, but he says that LLMs could end up being a bit of a dead end where they cap out, and it's the wrong technology to get to true general intelligence. So that's an interesting thing as well. But in any case, I think that the hunger for data is based on the technology that exists right now. Remember, the first L in LLM is large, right? And so again, that speaks to the hunger for data. They only work so well now because they've reached a scale that they can work that well. But it's so powerful already that I think the arms race and the amount of capital flowing into it means this is going to continue to be a really active battleground. And Emil, I agree with you. I think it is going to be a bit of a war.
I just want to add one last thing. I think that AI is an aspect, the LLMs are an aspect of intelligence.
Yes.
So for example, it's the way we do associations and know how to say the next thing. But there's also introspection. There's also a voice that we hear in our head. There's also the conversation that we think about and then think about a better answer. So there's a lot of, in true intelligence, there's a lot of other processes that we just haven't figured out how to build yet. I think LLM is great because it's a breakthrough in a aspect of intelligence, but we'll need to create multiple facets that together create true intelligence.
Transformers were the unlock for LLMs that no one thought about 3 years ago. There's no doubt there are some unlocks being developed now that we don't know about that'll get closer to where you're talking about. And maybe it's not in the next generation of LLMs, it's something orthogonal that people who are deep in this mean. But there's no doubt, like broadly speaking, the world is headed toward more general intelligence than it's ever had, faster than it ever has. And yeah, Jan LeCun can pick a date, anyone could pick a date, and then like bang, it hits you on the face. Someone else does something with a different methodology that gets you closer to there or gets you in some aspect there. But in any case, we're seeing the early effects of even just what LLMs are doing to lots of different industries today. And the battles to come, I think, are only going to increase.
I think another reason why all of these different AI things are going to actually accelerate in their development is the amount of human capital that's going to come into it, right? So generally when you have a lot of financial capital flowing into something, the human capital follows. So imagine all the smartest kids at university right now. A few years ago, they might have been like, okay, I'm going to go into finance. I'm going to become a quant, make millions of dollars that way. If you see how much money is being earned by the top folks at places like OpenAI, at places like NVIDIA, at Google, and so on, you can now earn millions of dollars basically out of university being an AI researcher. And frankly, most of these maths folks, like they would have preferred to be AI researchers than quants. They just got enamored of the prospect of making lots of money. Well, now you can get lots of money while doing cool AI research. Well, damn, like I imagine the inflow of talent into this space is just going to be epic. And we're going to see so much amazing progress because of that. So it's a pretty exciting time.
It's a good point. Very good point. And now you can have all this compute to try whatever idea you want.
Yeah, man. Like imagine you get to do machine learning, which is absolutely fucking cool. And you're worth $10 million by the time you're 28. Like, why not?